Now, last night, our very own Allison Blair aired a report about the Waikiki Safe and Sound program, which was started back in September. I want to bring her into the Digital Center now to talk a little bit more about this. Allison, the program was introduced several months ago, and now some critics are calling out some flaws.
Yeah, Dylan, the way the program was set up is there are no immediate consequences for banned offenders who are caught returning to Waikiki. Now, that's because HPD just can't arrest violators. This is the way the program works now. After a judge orders a geographic restriction, it can take weeks before it's uploaded into HPD's system. Even after police have that information, officers simply can't arrest a violator who they encounter. Instead, they make a report and send it back to the prosecutor. A judge then has to issue a warrant and send it back to HPD. That's when officers can take action using this specific measure. Obviously, if the person is caught committing a crime, police can arrest the suspect for that crime.
Now, that kind of sounds like a complicated process there, and it sounds like there's no immediate consequences. So what can police actually do in the moment?
You know, HPD tells me that they could tell the offender to leave, that they're not supposed to be there. And then again, they do make that report that they send over to the prosecutor's office.
Got it. Tell us a little bit about some of the people who are facing the geographical restriction and being ordered to stay out of Waikiki. What kind of crimes are they committing?
According to the prosecutor's office, judges issued geographical restrictions to these 36 people between September 6th and mid-January. Many are no stranger to law enforcement. Court documents show the majority of stay-away orders were issued for crimes like theft, assault, criminal trespassing, and harassment. Some of those suspects have more than one stay-away order. I can tell you over the past 3 weeks, the program seems to be picking up steam. Judges issued geographic restrictions for at least 30 additional people, bringing the total to about 70. Now, we've confirmed at least 25%, or about 18 offenders, have been caught returning to Waikiki. We asked the prosecutor's office how many people total have been arrested for ignoring their stay-away order since the program launched 5 months ago. Officials say there have been at least 2 arrests. There's probably been a few more than that, but records don't seem to be very organized.
Well, it sounds like there definitely are some things that still need to be worked out with this program. Looking forward in terms of improvements or anything in general that you mentioned, what can we expect going forward?
You know, Dylan, that's still to be determined.
Got it. Allison, thank you so much for joining us here today on This Is Now.